Now, when you wrote the book, and what did you want people to get out of it? Because this was you wrote this back in the 1960s.
That's correct, and actually at that point, what I wanted to do was to actually just kind of unmask this whole world, this whole behind the scenes world. I mean, it's a funny book, but you know, to tell the truth and laugh is that's not contradictory. You can do both.
When it's the truth, because the truth.
Satire has always been a great weapon, and I wanted to. But when it turned out that the book publishers were, for whatever reason,
you know what it was, Morrow. Come on. Okay. Well,
I
okay.
do know what it was.
But tell us what it was, because back there we're talking about 40 something years ago. You know, and you see something like this, and you're ripping the lid off of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, talk show, because that genre had just been created. I mean, you got the Tonight Show with Jack Parr and everything, but that's like all fun. But you know, David Susskind, you know, he had Marlon Brando, he had Harry Troy, he got all these big time people on the show, and here we are. You know, you're getting the good get. I mean, you're getting the top of the echelon get, and they were like, you do what? What did the publisher say to you when you take this in? You got your manuscript, and and I've written 3 books, and I know how publishers can be, you know, and you take it in, and they go, what did they say to you?
Well, first of all, they were then, and they're even more so now, very, very hard to communicate with. I mean, they kind of built a fortress. In fact, recently I decided it had to do with another book. I had read that a fellow who had been an editor at one of the large magazines had gone over to be president of one of the large book publishers. Mm-hmm. So I Googled that far, but when I Googled the publisher, they didn't list any of the editors. They didn't list any of the publishers. They didn't list. There was no person that you could.
No, I went to Google my own book from the publisher. One of my books. I wanted to get them to give me a link to put up where because people wanted to buy the book. Couldn't find any place. I have been calling for 3 days to New York and cannot get anybody on the line. What is that about?
That's one of the. That's one of the bad things, I think, that has happened to us, because we've sort of backed off from communicating with each other, and I that's another discussion, of course, and we don't have.
But don't you love this part? Don't you love this part? We have access to so much communication, and we can Instagram, and we can tweet, and we can Facebook, and we can link in, and we have no FaceTime with one another. We don't know how to the lost art of letter writing. I'm a hardcover kind of person with books, and people that they want to come on the program and they say, "Well, I'll email you my ebook." No, you send me a book. I want to have it in my hand. I want to turn the page. I don't want to push a button. And I know eventually, hopefully, they will never ever get rid of books. They will never ever get rid of libraries. We need that quiet time. There's nothing like sitting with a good book. And with a book, I don't want to read a book on the computer. That's just me. Now now tell us about your first book, MIM. What did that mean?
Well, that was a book about the this very problem with the publishers that we're talking about, and that is a book that I put out on my own. I backed it like a play, my friend, and I put up a certain amount of money, and it's a story of a novelist, a young novelist who's a very good novelist, but he can't get published, and it's about his problems, and it was a very interesting book to write, because what I had to do in that process was to kind of strip back all my circuits, and you want to believe that publishers are interested in good books. You want to believe a lot of stuff like that, and it really doesn't happen to be. It ain't necessarily so. You've
done so many things. Do you think that that's an avenue for you to explore, or for a group of people to get together to explore, because there are so many people out here. I believe there's a book in everybody. There's a story in everybody. They might not be able to put it down on paper or know how to do it, but everybody, if you've lived any portion of life, there's a story inside of you that could be told, and other people would be interested. And I think that we get cut off because of the gatekeepers at the publishing houses, or the lack of creativity. And speaking of the play, you said MIM you did it like a play. Have you thought about putting David Sunshine up on stage? I mean, you pretty prolific stage actor yourself.
Well, I do enjoy acting, but I try to keep all this stuff separate. You know, I mean, there's one thing it has in common, obviously, which is whether it's singing, in my nightclub act, or whether it's writing, or even if it's doing a voiceover commercial, which I've done quite a few of those. You're telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about storytelling. Acting is storytelling, and writing is storytelling, and
singing is storytelling.
Then singing, of course it is.
And you got to have a good story, right? That's why I love country music, because country music reminds me of R&B and blues, because it really is. Country music is just the blues with a twang. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, I used to, but speaking of that, I used to listen to these wonderful narratives of Josh White, for example. Used to. God, he had these songs about people who'd had their heads chopped off and all kinds of stuff, and amazing stuff, and that's kind of, by the way, what David Sunshine, I kind of set it up like that because they used to say back in those days when they did that, they say, tell them my guitar, sing it my guitar, and in this thing, my narrator will say, tell them what it was like to be out of work and looking for work, and so forth, in the winter months when it was cold and you didn't know what, that kind of thing. So that's, but I do try to keep the things, I can't explain why.
Because you have a short attention span, or either that you have most of us creative people have a short attention span, and you focus on what it is. When you finish with that, and I think you challenge yourself. I think you stretch yourself. I think you're the kind of guy. Sounds like to me you're the kind of guy. Okay, I've done that. Now let me try this. Okay, I've done that. I'm pretty good at that.
In fact,
let me try this.
Expression that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. I disagree with that. If you give me a choice between something I haven't done and something I have done, I'll choose what I haven't done.
Because you know what you have done. I'd rather jump out on that limb, and fall on my face to try something I've never tried before, and know that I'm going to either succeed at it or not succeed at it. No, I got 2 weeks because we're just about out of time. You and I could sit here and just chat all day long. First of all, the question I want to ask you is, what do you want people to walk away from after they read David Sunshine?
I think I'd like them to understand that this is what I would call a social novel. There's a tension there between the way things are and the way things ought to be in the mind of the writer. It goes back to Dickens. That was how it was. And what I'd like people to understand is that we're told a lot of stuff. We're by people that really Hollywood told us once that life was a certain way, and sitcoms tell us life is a certain way, and some teachers who are ill-informed and haven't really lived very interesting lives tell us life is a certain way. But literature tells you, if it's good, tells you how life is. And I mean, that doesn't sound like especially great reward, but I think it is. It
is a great reward.
The truth makes you free.
Because it is
that.
The truth. And when you don't have to, and especially when you don't have to sugarcoat it. Tell people how they can get the book. We are out of time. Tell people how they can get a book and how they can get in touch with you.
You can get it at bookstores. It's on Amazon, of course. It's Barnes and Noble. You can get it online. Just David Sunshine by Morrow Wilson, and Google that, or Yahoo that or Bing that or whatever.
Say whatever the heck we have to do. Well, it
Right.
has been my distinct pleasure to chat with you today, Mr. Morrow Wilson, author of David Sunshine, a novel of the communications industry. It was written way back then, but it is so relevant today. It has been my pleasure. I thank you so much for joining me. May the universe continue to open up and conspire for your great success. Ladies and gentlemen, Morrow Wilson. And babies, you know I love you, and there's not a ding-dang doggone thing that any one of you can do about mother loving you. Peace, babies.
You are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.